welcome back. Today we are going to be making a bunny color, so I'm going to go ahead and use this yarn for all the main parts, and then I'm going to use a pink for the nose, black for the eyes, and then I'm going to give it a little flower bow, so I'm going to be using white, and I'm going to be using this color. So the first thing we're going to do, and I'm using the 22 Addi, aside from the yarn, you're just going to need your scissors and the needle. So I'm going to drop the yarn till it touches the base. I'm going to wrap around my first one behind. All I'm doing is casting on right now. And like the last needle, I should always want to be behind it, and I am. I forgot to start my row counter so that it would click on one. The reason I used the needle, because my machine for the first 2 to 4 rows, it likes splitting the yarn. So I always need the needle, or I need the pick to pick it out. Don't know if anybody else has that problem. Alright, so we've cast it on, and then I am going to go ahead and knit 100 rows, and I'll show you what mine does. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do 100 rows. Alright, so we're starting to touch on the bottom, so all I do is pull this up, just so that it's not touching the bottom, putting any pressure up, which can then cause my stitches to drop off. Alright, this is my 100th row. I see my blue coming out, so I know that's my last needle. And then I want enough yarn to be able to just cast off without any issues. Make sure my last needle, it caught the yarn. And then all we're going to do is cast off. And so the first few, I do one at a time. So that's the first 3. And then I can go ahead and do a few more. And all you're doing is getting in between those teeth and picking up the yarn that's there. Being careful not to split your yarn, being careful not to drop any of your stitches. Alright, so that was a cast off. Want to stretch our work. Make sure all the stitches fall into place. So that is the body. Then you see all the little fuzzies from the yarn. It's unbelievable. We're going to go ahead and make the arms. And excuse me. We're going to go ahead, wrap around the first needle, go behind and front, behind and front, behind and front, behind, front, behind, all the way around. Last needle, we want to be behind. And again, I didn't do my counter. And for my arms, I want to do 20 rows. Alright, this is our last row. We're on row 20. My mark, so I know that's the last needle. I'm going to go ahead and leave a good bit of yarn because that way I can use it to tie on or sew on my arm. And I'm going to go ahead and cast off. You want to do 2 of the arms. So once we cast this off, we're going to go ahead and do another one. Alright, so we cast it off. I'm going to go ahead and stretch it out. Okay, that's one arm. For the ears, this is going to be an ear. We're going to make 2 ears, and these are going to be 35. So again, I start with my first needle, wrap around it, go behind and front, all the way around. I'm just casting on. Last needle. You want to make sure that it goes under, and then I'm going to leave a good bit of yarn so that I could sew on the ear. Probably didn't need to be that long, but I'd rather have it than not have it. And go ahead and stretch it out. And that is one of your ears. You're going to make 2 ears. Okay, I'm going to work on the bow. I'm going to start with this color. I'm going to go ahead and cast on again. And I really don't need the counter for this because I am only going to do 2. So I've cast it on. I'm going to do 2 in this color. Alright, so I'm already on row 2. Our last needle. And then I'm only going to leave a short because that's just to tie off, and then that's going to get cut off. So that's 2, and then I'm going to do 7 in the white. And in this case, it doesn't, a jogless color change is not even necessary, but I'm just going to do it just out of habit. So I wrap around the last needle where we just finished off that last color. And I hold these together. And then I'm just going to pull my white so that there's no little gaps. And then I'm going to do 7. Alright, this is the last one. Last needle. I'm going to go ahead and leave a little bit, not too much, because I'm going to have to sew it and tie it. So I want to make sure the last needle catches. And then we do the same thing with this one. Alright guys, so we tied off the color change. This is where the machine splits my yarn. So we're going to go ahead and try to hide that in there when we cinch everything up. This is the initial one that we made with this yarn. And I decided I wanted to go ahead and go with the main color as opposed to this one. So there is this one. And we're going to go ahead and tie this off. I am going to go ahead and just go around it a little bit, just to make sure that hole is nice and tight. And so that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and put my yarn on the inside. And we're going to go ahead and make a knot. And look at that, I split my yarn. Let's not do that. I'm going to go ahead and give it another little knot. Okay, that looks good. I'm not going to get rid of my white yarn because I am going to need my white yarn. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out of the way right now. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing to this part. And put the yarn on the needle. And I'm going to go ahead and go around this as well. And you can see the hole still right there. So that's what I'm trying to do, is close it up. And sometimes you have to go around a couple of times to get it to close. Sometimes it closes right up. Sometimes it takes a little bit more effort. And I can still see the opening. Alright, that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and just give it a little bit more, just to be sure. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a knot. I'm going to go ahead and make another knot. Just to make sure nothing comes apart. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to come out here. And my knot is still there. We want to hide the knot. Here we go. And so I'm just going to go ahead and tuck this back in. Put it to the back because we are going to use it to sew the bow on. Alright, so this is what we have. We have a little pancake. And we're going to use the white yarn. And I want the 5 petals. So I'm going to have to go about every 3.5 stitches. I'm going to start right where I'm at. Right, that's coming out right there. I'm just going to go ahead and stick it in the next stitch. And then bring it up in the next stitch. And then work my way back. So all I did was go one way and then come back the other. And then I'm just going to pull. And it's going to give me a little indent for the petal. I'm going to come out. On the white side, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I think I want to come out like right here. And then I'm just going to go make a knot. Make another knot. And then just to hide that knot, I'm just going to come out somewhere else. Alright, so there's our flower. Get that out of the way. Alright, then we have the arms, the ears. So what we want to do with the ears is we're going to cinch both ends. And then I'm going to go ahead and reinforce that just a bit, just because I don't like the hole right there. I'm going to go ahead and just back up a few stitches up. And you can see how that closes it. Of course, I let go and it opens back up, and I don't want it to open back up. So I'm going to go around a little bit more. And so that's nice and close. I'm going to go ahead and just put my yarn on the inside of the ear and make a knot. I'm going to go ahead and make another knot. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my yarn inside. Alright, put that on. Set it aside. We might need it. We actually have that closed. And so we're going to go ahead and pull this end close. And so this is going to be the bottom of the ear. That's going to be at the head. So what I'm going to do right here is just pull this nice and tight. And I am going to just basically stitch this close just so that it could be easier for me to sew on. And I could whip stitch going across the top, but that'll make it a bit bulkier, and it's already bulky enough. So I'm not trying to make it bulkier. And then I think I'm gonna do one more. And then I'm gonna go ahead and make a knot. Just one. I'm gonna get sewn on. So that's one ear down. Just get that out of the way. Alright, the arms. I'm going to do the same thing. You're going to cinch both ends like we just did. I like reinforcing my ends. One, it makes it stronger, but also it closes up that hole. Alright, so that's closed. Go ahead. Make a knot. I'm going to do the same thing to this end. I'm not cutting the yarn off because I'm going to use one to mattress stitch, and I probably need the other one to sew it on if the mattress stitch one is not long enough. But again, first thing I'm doing is I'm cinching, and then I am reinforcing, just picking these up. And then it's closed. I'm going to go ahead and make a knot. And they're both about the same length. I'm going to go ahead and mattress stitch with the one that's a tiny bit longer. And so my knot's right there, so I'm going to go ahead and put that on the inside. When we mattress stitch, we want to make sure that our stitches are lined up. So see, I have the V with the open part going that way and the closed part going this way. I want the same thing on this side. So now you can see where they're lined up. And you got to keep them lined up while you're stitching them. So I'm just going to come out right here, and then I'm going to pick up my first bar. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go under. I'm going to go right into that V. You see that bar picks up. And I just want to do that back and forth. And I don't want to pull too tight just so that I don't lose what stitch, what row I'm working in. And so I just go back and forth. And you can pick these up 2 at a time. When I'm working with little pieces like this, I just like to do 1 at a time. You see, I'm just going to the top. I go and see where it's coming out right here. I go right in there and I pick up the next one. And you see where this one, that's where I came out of the last time. I go right back in there and I pick that one up. And the same thing, go right back in there and I pick one up. And of course, I'm trying not to split any yarn. I don't want to split yarn because then it makes it hard when you're trying to close up the mattress stitch. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this already, but this is called the mattress stitch, which is almost like an invisible stitch. It's amazing. And so normally I'll get about halfway through my piece and then I'll go ahead and cinch it up. You can wait till the end, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if it's a really big piece, it's probably better to do it more often because you are putting quite a lot of pressure on the yarn when you're closing it up. But this one is small enough that we should be okay. I mean, this is 20 rows, so it's not very big. But you see what we're doing, we're just going back and forth, going right into where we're coming out of, and then just picking up that bar that's at the base of that V. Alright, so we're at the top now. You see what it looks like? And so then I pinch down here, and I just pull that yarn we've been working with. And then I pull it to the pull one more, and then I go ahead and just pull like this again so that it's not misshapen. So look at that. I mean, it's just perfect. So on here, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of come across just to close it. Again, with not yanking like that. So you saw it misshaped. If I pull too much, look. See? And so think I'm going to get rid of this one since it's all frayed. I'm going to go ahead and hide it inside the arm. I'm just going to cut it. Alright, so that arm is ready. And we're going to do the same thing with the body and the head. We want to bring one into the other. Just like if you were making a beanie. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my arm in there. Basically folding it in half. And this is basically the same thing, reinforcing, except that I'm doing it from the inside. And then I'm just going to go ahead and make a little knot. And that didn't turn out to be quite. There we go. And I'm going to make another one. And in this case, I'm not really being careful about where they're at because it's going to be on the inside. And then we're going to do the same thing to this part. So I'm not going to cut this off because I'm going to want to tie it to this one. I'm just cinching. I'm going to reinforce. And then I'm going to tie off. These together. And I want to make sure that the inner one is like really snug with the outer one. I'm going to make 2 or 3 knots. Go ahead and just cut these. I will probably use them for a drawstring because I'm going to need a drawstring where the head goes. But I'm going to hide these. But I find it easier to do this when I actually just lay it flat and don't maneuver it around. Although I do find it hard to stay in the same row. And so there's this one in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead, instead of picking one up, I'm going to go ahead and pick up 2 because I want to come out in the same space, in the same stitch. Alright, so now we are going to, if you are using safety eyes, you would go ahead and put them in and fill up your head a little. And you would want to know where you're going to put them and put your safety eyes in now or before you close it. I'm not, for this project, I'm not using them. So I'm just going to stuff the head. Her head's a little bigger than what I wanted it to be. So I could leave it or I can shorten it up. I'm going to go ahead and leave it just because, not everything's perfect. Things have big heads, little heads. And then I'm not pulling extremely tight, just tight enough that it's, the head. And I'm going to tie that off. And there's my needle. We're going to go ahead and hide this yarn. Pull up there. I pull the knot so it's gone. And then I'm just going to cut these. When you cut, you want to get as close as possible, but don't get too close and wind up cutting your actual project. I have done that. And then there's where it was, and you just kind of go like this or just mush it around. It just hides. And we're going to go ahead and stuff the body. Oh, see, after stuffing, I think the head is just right. We'll see how she turns out. I am making her a little fuller. You can make her a thinner bunny, a chubbier bunny, whatever kind of bunny you want. You just don't want to stuff it so much that your stitches are like all misshapen and all spread out. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to add my drawstring. And so there we go. And then what you want to do with this is kind of like we did the drawstring up here, except on the bottom I don't do half stitches, I do the whole stitch. So I'll pick up the 2 bars. So 2 bars, leave 2 bars. 2 bars, leave 2 bars. So you pick up 2, which is 1 stitch, and you leave 1 stitch, which is 2 bars. So I want to come over here, so in this case it's going to require me to pick up 2. So I'm going to pick up extra just 1 bar, leave 2 bars, and then go ahead and pick up 3 bars. Whichever way you want to do it, that's fine, as long as you pick them up and you're closing everything. And then I just kind of want to see where we're at. And I do want to stuff it more. So I think that's as far as I'm going to stuff her. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie this off. And what I like to do is I go through once and then I go through again, and this way my yarn doesn't come right back out, so I can just pull and see. I don't have to hold it. Yeah, I think she's good. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie it 2 more times. I'm going to cut my yarn there. And I'm going to hide this yarn. I could use it because I have to give her legs, but I don't like this knot. Actually, I still have a little hole, so I am going to just hide that knot in there. And so there's the knot. Alright, I'm going to leave that there because maybe I can use it. And I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to reinforce it